Hello, everyone, and welcome to the New Contributor Workshop Development Meeting. Today is August the 3rd, 2020. Just as a general guideline, these meetings, or all the meetings, follow the CNCF Code of Conduct, which in general just means be excellent to each other. Yeah, so we've got quite a bit of items on the agenda today, but before we get in, is there anyone here who hasn't been to one of these meetings before and would like to introduce themselves?
I can introduce myself. I'm Kendall Nelson. I spend most of my time working in the OpenStack community, doing roughly the same thing that you guys are doing here. I know some of the faces in here. I more recently have gotten involved in Kubernetes as well, and kind of trying to help our communities bridge between one another and learn from each other. So I figured it would be good to start attending some of these meetings. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Cool. Kendall isn't mentioning it, but she's partly responsible for what is it called? Upstream Institute?
Yes, yeah.
OpenStack's thing.
Yes, OpenStack, Upstream Institute, and our contributor guide. And on a couple occasions, I've met up with Paris, and one of our mentoring programs helped inspire your contributor ladder thing. And so, well, there's kind of been connection and back and forth collaboration already, but yeah.
Awesome. Well, it's good to have you here. Okay. Now let's get right into the agenda. Now, the first item we have is tips for recording, video recording requested.
Yeah. So that's me. So I took on writing a video recording guide. I have a bunch of content from CNCF. I'm just waiting to use that from their guide for KubeCon recordings. I'm just waiting for permission to actually copy that into a document that's going to go into our repo. And that covers most things. There are some things that it doesn't cover. And I just wanted to put that in there to request people putting things in there. There is one sort of open question that I had with video recording, which is ultimately it would be super nice to have subtitles or something similar with these. And I don't know if anybody had actually thought about that. In terms of generating that. I know that there are some inexpensive ways to get subtitles if you're putting it on YouTube.
So especially with accents, the auto subtitles tend to not work all that well, just from personal experience. The other thing that I want to bring up is accessibility for hard of hearing folks. Is there a way we can get a sign language, box? If we're making legit instruction videos, that should be part of it. I've always felt a little bad for not having a sign language interpreter at these presentations.
I guess, do we really want ASL rather than competent subtitles?
It would also, if you do ASL, and just to keep us internationally focused, you're focusing on Americans.
Yep.
And anyone who's looking at it, as Josh was noting, they're going to be able to read the subtitles as well.
So then we should have subtitles that I'm just bringing it up because I know nothing about it. So, and I don't know what people prefer or what the standard is at all.
Yeah.
Whatsoever.
It's a small data point, but we did a survey for Kubernetes Community Days Portland before they got canceled by COVID. And even among the people who had hearing disabilities, subtitles were preferred to ASL. Because it turns out there's a lot of people who have hearing difficulty who don't know ASL.
Very cool. All right. Thank you for having that data. That's awesome.
Yeah. Okay, that was my only question, other than, you know, soliciting people to work on this, although hold back a little bit because I expect to get permission to paste in the stuff from the CNCF tomorrow. And then we'll mark it up. I mean, there's some things that are going to be particular to us, like where you upload and paste everything. Okay, that's all I had on the video stuff.
Okay. Any questions? Or I think we covered everything. So next up, we have contributor documentation and where that's going to live.
Yeah, so we decided between meetings that was going to go in on the contributor site repo, contributor site content, English docs, new contributor. I mean, obviously it'll get translated eventually so that it'll have other language tags as well. That is the advantage that it's going into a website that already has a translation framework. So if people do the translation, then we'll have translations for that. By the way, if anybody was unclear in this, what we're talking about is basically the documentation version of the segments. So, you know, for each video segment, we also want a written documentation version of that for people who prefer reading things to hearing them. And that's where it's going to go, which means people just need to write it in Markdown. Paris was asking about linking to the documentation we already have. When that documentation covers the same topics, yes. But we really want this oriented around the specific lessons of the, you know, for new contributors. And we're going to need a lot of additional material for that. Also, as I understand it, the existing contributor documentation is mostly in the community repo, which does not have a translation framework set up, which then makes it messy.
Okay, at least for the long-term goal with a lot of the contributor guide stuff will probably eventually be to shift it over to the contributor site, but that is, you know, maybe sometime next year where we can support all the localization stuff easily. Till then, we have at least the localized versions of the cheat sheet as a, I guess, sort of stopgap.
Yeah. Yeah, but if we do this new material all directly in the contributor site repo, then we're not creating additional problems for
Correct.
ourselves down the road. Yeah, so one of my questions there also is the existing segment assignment stuff does not include any mention of writing up the documentation portion. And so I was going to ask, do we want to add that to the existing segment issues? Or do we want to create a separate sort of mirror set of issues of write documentation for X? I mean, because in a bunch of cases, it'll be a different person, right? Because this is a place where we can broaden out the amount, right? Because we can say to a person, hey, so-and-so recorded the video of this. Here's their video. Here's their text examples. Can you turn this into, you know, a doc page version? And get additional volunteers that way, particularly people who don't feel comfortable recording video or aren't set up for it.
Maybe pop those issues off after they're already recorded. Like essentially it becomes like a queue of items that they can go through.
Okay, so I would argue for a second issue. Okay, that's fine. Will do. Okay, that was it. Allison.
Alrighty. Hmm. So we've got the segment assignments bit next.
Yeah, and by the way, all these agenda items here were put on by me. So if somebody has additional agenda items, you're going to add them even now.
Okay.
So I did not get to doing a count of how many things currently have somebody taking them.
We'll do a quick check on GitHub then.
I don't think too many people have taken them. I know Jason said he would help out, but hasn't selected a specific one. It will probably be at least 2 weeks before he'd be ready to record something, just because he's also going through a job change.
So we've got one.
Can we screen share real quick?
Yeah, I'll share my screen.
I don't think I've assigned myself to anything.
Okay, I'm gonna share the screen. Share the screen. So can everyone see? I'm just gonna zoom in a bit. Okay, I can't zoom in. Okay. Oh, I can zoom in. Woohoo! So we've got all these sessions listed, and some of them we have people assigned, like Savita, and more people. Yeah. Sorry.
I've been meaning to assign myself to some and I haven't yet, so this is a good reminder.
I'm gonna send a link to this in the chat. If I can find the chat. Can I find the chat? More chat. There we go. It's hiding.
We can't see it. It's great.
It's the when you're sharing a screen in Zoom and you just can't find the buttons because they're not where you expect them. So yeah, at the moment we haven't got heaps of people signing up for. We haven't got like heaps of people, but that's because we also haven't sent out that thing to the mailing list yet. We should probably get on to that.
Yeah, I think that's really the first action item is to send something out to Kubernetes Dev looking for volunteers, because otherwise it's just people essentially watching the community repo.
Yeah. So can we, yeah, that should be our action item by sometime this week. I'm really bad at setting deadlines, so sometime this week, send out the call for volunteers. And we do have a Google Doc with like a call for volunteers like drafted in there. I think Josh, you have that doc as well, but I will copy paste it into the chat. I just need to find it. Here we go. Okay, let's just change account. Please. This is the trouble. Like 5 different Google. Okay, excuse my rambling and stumbling, but this is the draft of the thing we're gonna send out to KDev. Well, not the draft. This is the thing we're going to send out to Caleb. We just need to finish up with the putting the meeting thing in, copy paste it, and so. Any comments, anyone?
No, she'll go ahead and send it out.
Okay, is that meeting time? Correct?
Oh, you know what? Where's the? Oh, right. Yeah, you've got the issue link in there. Yes, that is correct.
So if we copy paste this, and I'll send it after this meeting.
Cool.
So I'm going through some of those issues and I'm not entirely, so having not looked at them before, I see that local build and test has like 4 separate issues, and everything else is pretty great. I just kind of want to know what the difference in focus is between those 4 issues in particular.
And on those, we talked about maybe trying to shift to a different type of content maybe in the spring, but we're rushed. If we have more time now, should we revisit that?
Sure. The Allison and I created those sort of segments based on what was in the program for Amsterdam.
Yeah.
And we left it chopped into 4 segments out of the idea that, hey, we don't really want to ask anybody to do 2.5 hours of content by themselves. The number 4 is the build and test that would have gone with the intermediate track, if you follow me. So it's like a more advanced hackery session.
Sure. I just want clear, what does done look like for this? Like, what is the end goal?
Yeah.
The other thing is I don't know that a video presentation needs to be 2.5 hours, right? Because it'll look a little bit more like, here's the run book for the slides and you can pause the video and go at your own content and at your own pace.
Yeah.
Right. So it'll be less like, oh, let's tell a couple jokes while everyone is like getting their stuff together, or hey, it's more like, if you're having trouble with this, pop a question into either KDev in the chat, the developer community or something, you know what I mean? Like it'll be less like, let's wait until everyone has pulled the images and like all that stuff. It's more like we should have frequently asked questions selection, right? Because everyone's doing this async, so we should have a frequently asked questions for the content, and maybe even like our own, I don't know, Stack Overflow page. You know what I mean? Like the contributor workshop specific Stack Overflow, or our own Slack channel. Well, Slack is hard to search though. Sorry, that was a long ramble.
It's really sounding like you want to take this whole section over.
No, I do not. No. This is actually less related to local build and test and more like in general. If we're making this async, there should be an FAQ, and there should be frequent instructions on where to go if you need help. As part of your videos, keep that in mind. And we should keep in mind too, that it doesn't have to be a live recording of watching a build. You can cut that out.
You can just go from the start to the finish, like, this is what it looks like before you hit the buttons. And this is what it looks like after you've hit the buttons and waiting. If anything doesn't look right to you, feel free to pause now and just have a relook over your work kind of thing. And then at the start and the end, we have an intro kind of clip like, welcome back to New Contributor Workshop, the virtual box set. This is where the FAQ is, this is where this is, this is where this is. And then at the end, we can have the, was this awesome? Give us a thumbs up, smash that like bar. subscribe, hit the bell button. Yeah.
But I mean, part of the idea and the reason why they're called local build and test 1 through 4 was to kind of leave it up to whoever's doing it to figure out the exact content. It was more of a statement of, hey, we want several different segments of steadily increasing complexity.
Yeah, I think I'm just talking about two separate things at this point.
Yeah.
I'm like, yes, I want like clear definitions, but I also want everyone who records videos to keep in mind that, you know, it's not just a live demo, it's supposed to be a class.
Oh, damn it, and I stopped taking notes, and so did everyone else. But also, I would like to see you create an issue of this additional material that needs to go into the print version of the new contributor workshop, because you mentioned several things that we need to remember to put in the print version that are not going to be videos.
We've been spending a bit of time at II following along with other people's presentations and videos, creating shared pair terminals that we share with sometimes everybody in the meeting, sometimes just a few, where we capture org files that are the topics of discussion and the code examples. And as we're going through and we say, execute this code block for, kubectl apply or whatever, we actually capture the output and have some keystrokes to turn that into Markdown. And I wonder if there isn't a group of us that might be willing to have a coordinated effort to use that style to go through each of these videos to have a flow that provides not only the documentation, but kind of source material for people to go through and have a step-by-step guide that we can reuse in the future. And we've been working with it for about 2 years now, so it's getting more and more solid to the point where you can just bring up a Kubernetes cluster and Helm install, right? And then just attach and export the Markdown. That's a thought. I know that I'd be willing to allocate some of my team towards that effort, but it would be useful if there were other community members that were willing to kind of pick up that tool as well and look at just doing some pipelining around those.
So this would be for doing the technical portion or doing the interactive technical portion.
So my direct output, like right now, seems under contributor side content English, and then the breaking out these segments into the doc follow through based on what we're seeing on the screen for this first, this first session. And then maybe next contributor summit, having those org files be the basis for the people doing, because we don't want to change a whole lot here. We just want to capture things in a way that's consistent when we spend time together with those pair sessions. And I think when people go back through and have these org files available, being the content for new contributor workshop, we'll have more people being able to follow in these step-by-step guides. But I think for right now, it's a wait till we have recordings, go through those recordings and generate documentation that's in line with timestamp link videos back to the thing. So if they want to start back over at that point, they just click on it, it jumps the YouTube video back to that point. Kind of an interactive index of the content, which can also just render as Markdown inside site contributor content EN.
Okay. I mean, that all sounds great to me.
I guess what it would be good is just to at least take a few of, and maybe in particular the build and local ones, those 1 through 4, as a takeaway, is walking through those in a step-by-step to create the Markdown site contributions for those, And if we like those and other people are interested, can expand it beyond those 4. But I don't mind voluntolding my crew to show up and do it for those 4 segments.
Okay. Cool. So one of the things I will ask is, even if you're not going to be the ones to record them, we have a couple of people here, such as Gwyn and Tim, who could at least determine what the content should be there. Because I think it's going to be easier to recruit somebody new to help with that if they know what exactly is the content goal.
So I wrote up a bunch of content for the new contributor workshop in K community like a few months ago. And under events, I think, or maybe mentoring. I think the whole folder got moved. Let me see. Anyway, I don't think I got quite this detailed, but that could serve as a reference. Anyway, I can look at the local build and test and just kind of break it out. Look at the slides because I have more context here, right? It's like, it just says, look at these slides. And it's just like, well, what am I signing on for here? So I can do that.
Okay. Okay, and so then the email is going out, and we've got all of the other content. And we just need to get assignments for everybody. Make sure that everything is assigned. I mean, we do have a number of us who could probably take a number of these. Like I know I'm waiting to find out what ends up being unclaimed before I grab anything, because I've done at least 5 of these.
Yeah, and kind of like we'll send the letter out to KDev and then just see what doesn't end up getting claimed and help guide folks through the process of making these videos. Because I know I don't think I'm gonna be able to pick up heaps of stuff because I'm planning to move in like a couple weeks. So yeah, I know I'm crazy. Yeah.
Don't move. Why are you moving?
Because it makes time zones easier. Makes the time zone thing easier. And my partner's starting a job overseas, so.
Oh, I meant where are you moving?
I'm moving to London.
Oh.
There's a face of shock. I'll try pick a safe district.
You realize that's going to make this meeting very difficult.
It's going to be 11 at night.
Yeah.
I always ruin things for myself. Right? Once I get them like perfect, it's gone.
Yep. The okay. Do we have other stuff for the that we need to discuss here?
No, I think we've covered everything. Well, thank you everyone for coming along. And we'll see you the same place, same time, 2 weeks from now. Bye.